Game of Thrones is coming to Star Wars! Well, no, not really. The guys who make Game of Thrones have been hired, apparently, to make some Star Wars movies, a series of movies. That's what the news reports said yesterday. David Benioff and W.B. Weiss, or D.W. Weiss, DW40. I forget what the other guy's name is, but those two guys have been hired, I guess, by Disney or Kathleen Kennedy to do some Star Wars movies that have nothing to do with the current, Skywalker saga with like Rey and Kylo and Luke. Oh my God, I hope they didn't really kill him off, but then, or the planned trilogy that Rian Johnson says he's going to make. Although, I don't know, given the backlash to Star Wars The Last Jedi that he wrote and directed, I wouldn't be surprised if Lucasfilm decides not to go ahead with that trilogy. But we'll see. But anyways, we have information on the next era, the next phase of Star Wars movies, and it's going to be helmed or directed or architected or whatever by the producers of Game of Thrones, one of the biggest genre sci-fi fantasy shows on right now. So in that way, they're a good fit in the sense that, they have the experience of running like a genre property that's mega popular and weaving together all these complex storylines and characters. Although, if you watch Game of Thrones, you will notice that they kind of ran out of steam when they ran out of novels to follow. So you could argue, credit a lot of the complexity and cool characters in the earlier seasons from George R.R. Martin, because he wrote the source material that they adapted. Now, I'm not saying that they're chopped liver and, they aren't doing anything special, but Game of Thrones criticism that's been hurled at it lately with the last 2 or 3 seasons or whatever is that it's veered more into fan service, or it's very different and doesn't have the complexity as it did before because they ran out of books that were written by somebody else who wasn't them. But anyways, I'm not knocking them. They could do these movies and do them great, but it'll be a while before we see those movies because they have a lot of work to do. I mean, they're currently making Game of Thrones the last season, and it's supposed to come out in 2019. And there's rumors that or reports, I think some have been confirmed, that there's going to be spin-offs of Game of Thrones and some prequels and stuff like that. So these guys are going to have a lot of work on their hands. I guess they could just, delegate that task off to other people and make their main job. We got to devote all our time to these Star Wars movies we're making. And they could. So we'll see. I'm sure, this news just dropped yesterday, so we'll hear more about that in the future. But, since Game of Thrones, the last season is 2019 and they're filming it now, I'm wondering if we'll see some Game of Thrones people pop up in these movies. I know Kit Harington, who plays Jon Snow, has been trying to, have a really good movie career since he's been on Game of Thrones, and it hasn't exactly worked out that way. And I read somewhere that he's close or buddies with, Weiss and Benioff. So maybe he can try to use his friend connections to schmooze his way into some Star Wars movie roles in the future. And, other people on Game of Thrones might be like, well, other people from Game of Thrones are in your movies. What about us? Emilia Clarke, she's in the Solo movie that comes out in May. Gwendolyn Christie she plays Captain Phasma. And, so other Game of Thrones people might try to see if they can maneuver their way into Star Wars movies. Although I hope we don't see so many Game of Thrones people in these next Star Wars movies that it seems like Game of Thrones Part 2. That's why I made that joke starting this video. Game of Thrones is coming to Star Wars. In some ways, it's not a joke because the two, showrunners of Game of Thrones are, making Star Wars movies now, apparently. So it's accurate. But anyways, that's my Star Wars movie update for the day. If you'd like to watch me make more videos about Star Wars movies, because I like Star Wars, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your viewership. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.